So I'm just going to run over a few Python little snippets today that I can think of. So the first thing is that we're just going to do a print hello world. And that, of course, will just print hello world, print being a function. Before we run it, we have to save it. So we're going to save it here. And we're just going to call it hello.py. And in Visual Studio Code, a Control F5 runs your Python, and in the bottom we can see our output. Now we can turn this into a repeating thing by saying for I in range, not branch, but range 10, and we can print hello world. And there it is. For us, it prints hello world 10 times. Yay! And we can turn this into a function by saying print hello world. That's our function that we're going to call later on. Then we're just going to put all of that code right into a function. And the reason we like to put it into a function is it packages it up nicely, and we can just reuse that. Now we're going to run this, and you're going to see that nothing happens. And why does nothing happen? Because we have a nice little package for our function, but we haven't actually told the computer to do anything with that function. So we're going to call that function, and when we call that function, it's like it runs this little program inside of it, and there we go. We're running that function. So that was pretty fun, but now we're going to make a class, and the class is kind of a template of different actions and data all together. So we're just going to call a class hello world, and actually we should probably make sure that this is all capitals. So there's our class, and let's just put a number in here for fun. We'll be using that number in a minute, and then we're going to take this function and we're going to put that function inside of the class. And the one thing that we should know, when we put a function inside of a class, it's always going to look to call itself. So we just always put itself there. And someday we'll explain that, but right now we won't. And we'll run this again, and guess what? Absolutely nothing happens. And the reason that nothing happens is that again, we haven't actually called that code to make it run. And if we want an object to come from this class, and an object is just like the class is like the recipe, the object is like the actual cookie. So now we're going to actually bake something from this class, and we're just going to say, let's call it HW equals hello world. So now we have an object called hello world, and what we can do is we can say in that object, we're going to call that function hello world that we had before, and just for fun, actually let's just run that for a second, and we'll see that it's going to call that function from within that class. And just for fun, we're going to take a look at that number that's in there. So we can call functions from the object. And I just called it a class, but it's actually an object. We can call functions from the object that we just created. But we also can get numbers from it. So we can print that number. And we have to say it's the number from the object, but then we can also print the number from the object, number times 5, and that's going to give us 75. So what we're going to see, actually what we'll do here is we'll comment this out. If you put a number sign or a hashtag in front of something, it comments it out. So we won't see it printing 10 times, but we will see the number printed once, and then we'll see the number times 5 printed once. And we'll just run that, and there we go. We see 15 and 75. And that is just how you call a print, make it print 10 times, turn it into a function, throw it into a class if you want, and make an object out of it. And you can run your functions from your object, and you can also get the data that you've put into your object. You could also change that data if you wanted to, but we'll talk about that another time. And that was a 5-minute introduction to Python.